Little Ninja.
Professional comic book printing. The third step of the Litho Ninja file checklist is to confirm that 1/8 inch bleeds are included on all sides of your print or page files. 1/8 inch bleeds on each side are required on any print file that has a background color or background image that you want to stretch all the way to the end of the page. 1/8 inch refers to how far one should extend this background color or image past the actual trim line to account for any fluctuation of where the page is trimmed. It should be noted that trim lines do not represent an exact mark of where the print will be trimmed. It's simply a close approximation of where the page will be cut during the trimming process, so if a blade fluctuates slightly outside of the trim line, you want the background color or image extending through this area to avoid ending up with a white slither of paper on the ends of your print. For that reason, you extend the background color or image 1/8 of an inch past the trim line to account for these fluctuations. To better explain, I have here the Litho Ninja standard size single page comic book template where the red section represents the 1/8 inch bleed area on all four sides. The trim line is the line that separates the red and yellow sections, so if the blade fluctuates 1/16 of an inch outside of the trim line, you don't end up with a little white slither of paper if your background stopped right at the trim line. You end up with the background color or image that you intended to run all the way to the end of the page. I'll bring an example where we have a standard comic book page file where the black background color is intended to run all the way to the end of the page. The white dashed line represents the trim line, and as you can see, the black background extends 1/8 of an inch past the trim line to account for any cut fluctuations outside the trim line. If we bring in another sample of the same page which does not include any bleeds, you can see that if the blade cuts outside of the trim line, you would be left with white slithers of paper on one or more sides. One common request we receive at Litho Ninja for files that do not include bleeds is for us to simply stretch the page file to extend it through the bleed areas. This actually presents two primary issues and is why we recommend that you add bleeds at the design file level yourself. If we use your existing file and stretch the file to extend through the bleed area, you start encountering the potential of trimming issues. As you can see, the primary artwork and text on the page moves further out when stretched, and in most cases, falls on the trim line itself or within the margin area that could potentially be trimmed off. In addition, stretching a non-vector file decreases the resolution and can lead to a slight blurriness or pixelation, which no comic artist wants for their artwork. Bleeds should always be added at the design file level, not with the file submitted to Litho Ninja for printing. Although a standard comic book page file may have a trim size of 6.625 inches by 10.25 inches, your print file should also include a 1/8 inch bleed on each side, giving you a full bleed size of 6.875 inches by 10.5 inches. The same concept applies for 11 inch by 17 inch poster. The design file should include a 1/8 inch bleed on all four sides, creating a full bleed size of 11.25 inches by 17.25 inches. So the bottom line is this: if you include a 1/8 inch bleed on all four sides of your print file, it ensures you will not end up with white slithers of paper around your printed artwork.